Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Join the official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to stay updated and get all the materials on the Telegram. The link to the channel can be found in the description box.
Now all of us understand the importance of optional subject in overall scheme of UPSC Civil Services examination. And if you're confused about which optional subject to choose, how to find the best teachers and academic support for your optional papers, and above all, how to prepare for the same during these difficult times, RAU'S IAS has best solution for your optional subject related problems. We are conducting optional orientation sessions on 22nd and 29th of May 2021, in which you can learn from the RAU'S IAS teachers about how to prepare for the optional subjects and how are we going to help you in scoring your best in the mains examination. The optional batches are starting from 4th of June 2021 via live online classes. Consider this as a call to all of those who wish to completely cover the optional subject by December 2021. This will ensure timely coverage of optional subject, and then you can focus your attention completely on prelims from January or February 2022 and keep revising the optional subject till you appear for the mains examination. RAU'S IAS is offering guidance for political science, public administration, history, sociology, geography, economics and psychology from Delhi, Jaipur and Bangalore centers. In the description of the video, there is a link which you can use to register yourself for the orientation for the respective optional subject session. We at RAU'S IAS are committed to give you the best guidance and academic support to excel in civil services examination. Join the orientation and kickstart your mains optional subject preparation from a team of best teachers in the arena. Let us now begin the discussion.
Hello and welcome to the weekly series of the explained section of the Indian Express newspaper. Now here we shall take up the news which appeared in the third week in the month of May in the Indian Express explained section, and we shall take up those news which has not been covered in the DNS videos. Now let's take up this first news appearing in the explained section of Indian Express. It says e-way bill integration with FASTag RFID, how vehicle tracking could curb tax evasion. So this news highlights that the e-way bill which is generated with respect to the commercial consignment has now been integrated with FASTag and RFID, as the whole purpose is to track the vehicles and also curb tax evasion. And it is in this regard this article says that the GST authorities will now be able to track real-time data of commercial vehicle movement on highways, and this will be done by integration of the e-way bill system with FASTag and RFID. So in this regard, let us understand about this e-way bill and its integration with FASTag and RFID and what could be the possible benefits. Now before moving further, let's first of all understand about this e-way bill. Now this is a sample of an e-way bill which is generated by the government. Now to understand the importance of this generation of e-way bill, it's also important to understand that how the system worked earlier under the VAT process or under the VAT system. So earlier under the VAT system, when GST was not into effect, tax offices issued delivery notes to the consignment owner or to the person who was transferring the consignment. So the VAT office used to issue these delivery notes to the taxpayers, and the taxpayer at the end of the month had to submit a utilization statement. Now to obtain these delivery notes under the old system, the taxpayer had to visit the VAT office or the revenue office of the government. And because of all these aspects, many hardships were faced by these taxpayers, and also because of the fact that at times these delivery notes were delayed, their consignments at state borders were delayed. And this overall impacted trade and also revenue generation for the governance. So overall we can say that this impacted trade and also revenue governance. Now when it was realized that this was causing hardship, then the government came up with the process of generating these delivery note online, and it is here where this concept of e-way bill was initiated. So this delivery note was generated online when the taxpayers used to provide details with respect to the consignment which was to travel from different areas or for interstate travel. So based on this understanding of the old system, the new system provided for this e-way bill, and it has also been provided under the GST Act. So in this regard, let us understand about this e-way bill and also what can be the possible benefits of e-way bill, and also with respect to integration of e-way bill with that of FASTag and RFID. Now, as per the rules of the central government, every consignment exceeding rupees 50,000 value must generate e-way bill, and this has been mandated as per section 68 of GST Act and also as per the rules framed under the GST Act. Now, this generation of e-way bill has been made mandatory from April 2018 under the indirect tax regime under GST. And this generation of e-way bill is mandatory for interstate transportation of goods. So since generation of e-way bill has become mandatory from April 2018, hence the government from 1st January 2021 has integrated the e-way bill with FASTag and RFID. So overall we can say that e-way bill is a document required to be carried by a person in charge of conveyance which is carrying any consignment of goods of value exceeding rupees 50,000 as per the GST Act. Now another interesting fact is that it is generated from the GST common portal for e-way bill system, and this is generated by the registered persons or transporters who wishes to transport their consignment from one state to another. Now regarding the objectives of e-way bill, it helps in movement of the goods throughout the territory of India. Further, it also helps to prevent evasion of tax, as reporting of travel of these consignment of goods exceeding rupees 50,000 value has to be registered online, as only after registration an e-way bill is generated. Further, it provides for a hassle-free movement of goods across India. Next, tracking of the movement of these goods with e-way bill number becomes more convenient for the tax authorities. Next objective for providing or generating e-way bill is that it provides for easier verification of the e-way bill by officers, and also the fact that the taxpayers need not visit office every time for delivery note, as was the case earlier under the VAT system. So these can be said to be some of the objectives or even the benefits of generating e-way bills. Now here is another interesting fact with respect to e-way bills. It mentions about the top 5 states and also the top 5 sectors for which e-way bill has been generated. So the top 5 states generating e-way bills are Gujarat, Maharashtra, Haryana, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. And the top 5 sectors for which this bill has been generated are textile sector, electrical machinery sector, machinery and mechanical appliances sector, iron and steel and automobiles. So questions can be asked in your prelims examination with respect to the top 5 sectors for which e-way bill has been generated so far in India. And this list pertains to the last 3 years. Now the next aspect is regarding requirements to generate the e-way bill. So it says that a person who generates e-way bill should be a registered person on GST portal, and he should also register in the e-way bill portal. So the registration is mandatory for GST portal and also for the e-way bill portal. It then says that if the transporter is not registered person under GST, then it is mandatory for him to get enrolled on the e-way bill portal. So it also provides for another option. Say if a transporter has not registered themselves under the GST portal, then in such situation, registration under the e-way portal becomes necessary. Now regarding the documents which are required for generation of this e-way bill, it says documents such as tax invoice or bill of sale or delivery challan and transporter's ID, who is transporting the goods with transporter document number or the vehicle number in which the goods are transported. So all these documents must be available with the person who is generating the e-way bill. So after understanding about generation of e-way bill, let's go through with the step of integration of e-way bill with RFID and FASTag. So this news highlights that from 1st January 2021, RFID FASTag has been integrated with the e-way bill system, And in this regard, a transporter is required to have a RFID tag on his vehicle and also the e-way bill while he is traveling from one state to another. Now in this regard, we must also know about FASTag, which uses RFID method. So FASTag is a device that employs radio frequency identification technology for making toll payments directly while the vehicle is in motion. So basically, if any vehicle or any car has a FASTag attached to its windscreen, then they do not have to pay cash on tolls of national highways, as the FASTag, which is fixed on the windscreen, enables the customer to make the toll payment directly from the account which is linked to FASTag. So an account has to be linked to FASTag. So in this regard, we can say that FASTag offers the convenience of cashless payment along with benefits like saving time on a toll booth and also saving fuel, as the toll fare is directly deducted from the linked account of the customer. Another important aspect with respect to FASTag is that it is vehicle specific, and once a FASTag has been issued and affixed to a particular vehicle, it cannot be transferred to another vehicle. So if a FASTag is issued for a particular car or a particular vehicle, then such a FASTag cannot be transferred to another vehicle. So after understanding about FASTag, let's come back to the aspect of integration of e-way bill with that of RFID and FASTag. So it is in this regard, this news says that from 1st January 2021, FASTag has been integrated with the e-way bill system, and a transporter is required to have the RFID tag on his vehicles and also details of e-way bill. So when a vehicle crosses a toll, then the details with respect to the RFID or the FASTag is fed into the device, and then such information gets uploaded on the government portal. The information is later used by revenue authorities to validate the supplies made by a GST registered person. So this is how integration of e-way bill helps the revenue officers, as all the data pertaining to the travel of a particular consignment of goods in a particular vehicle gets uploaded on the government portal. So in this regard, let's go through some of the important benefits with respect to integration of this e-way bill with FASTag and RFID. So the first benefit highlighted here is with respect to real-time tracking of consignment on highways through tolls, as it also enables live vigilance of such consignment which is being transported from one state to another, and overall it also ensures compliances of rules. Next, it helps in preventing revenue leakage for the government, as the government can not only track the movement of goods but through generation of e-way bill can also know what sort of consignment or what sort of goods is being transported from one place to another. It further says that tax officers can access report on certain vehicles or specific vehicles which have passed on selected tolls. So overall, it improves live tracking of vehicle and especially suspected vehicles. So vehicles carrying critical commodities such as industrial oxygen can be tracked through this integration. Another aspect highlighted is that suspicious vehicles and their consignments can also be cross-checked if tax officers or other officers thinks it necessary. So overall, we can say that integration of e-way bill with FASTag has made vigilance more effective and efficient. This is also because officers of Audit and Enforcement Wing can now use these reports to identify fraudulent transactions. And it is here where these officers can overall prevent revenue leakage for their respective government. Thus, these can be said to be some of the benefits with respect to integrating e-way bill with FASTag. Now, from a prelims perspective, let us also know about the National Electronic Toll Collection Program or NETC. Now, this program has been launched by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. And this National Electronic Toll Collection Program provides for collection of user fee through FASTags based on RFID technology. Another important aspect is that National Payments Corporation of India has developed the National Electronic Toll Collection Program. Now, in this regard, let's also go through some of the objectives of National Electronic Toll Collection System. It highlights that it creates a composite interoperable ecosystem as it provides for an interoperable secure framework. It next mentions about simple and a robust framework, where it highlights that such a framework increases transparency and efficiency in processing transactions through FASTag. Next, it also serves various goals of the Government of India, such as electronification of the retail payments, reduction of air pollution by reducing congestion around toll plaza, reduction in fuel consumption, reduction in cash handling at the toll plazas, and also enhancing audit control by centralizing user account. So these can be said to be some of the objectives with respect to National Electronic Toll Collection System. Now, from an examination perspective, let us also go through the 8-leg transaction which takes place once a vehicle enters into a toll booth. So here it provides for NETC or National Electronic Toll Collection Program and FASTag transaction process flow. So the first leg highlights that whenever a vehicle passes through the ETC lane of toll plaza, the toll system captures the FASTag details like tag ID, vehicle class, etc. and sends it to the acquiring bank for processing, as we have seen that RFID is linked to a bank account. Coming to the leg 2 of the transaction, after receiving this signal, the acquiring bank sends a request to the NETC mapper to validate the tag details of the vehicle. Moving to leg 3, once the tag details of the vehicle is validated, the NETC mapper responds with details like vehicle class, VRN, tag status, etc. And if the tag ID is absent in the NETC mapper, it will respond with the message that tag ID is not registered. Moving to the leg 4 of the transaction, it says that after successful validation of tag ID from NETC mapper, the acquirer host at the toll calculates the appropriate toll fee and initiate a debit request to the NETC system. Now moving to the leg 5 of the transaction, once the NETC system initiate a debit request, it will switch the debit request to the respective issuer bank to debit the account of the customer. Next, the account of the account holder shall be debited and a SMS alert shall be sent to the tag holder. And in this regard, the issuer host shall send the response message to the NETC system. Now it here highlights that if the response is not sent within the defined time, the transactions are considered as deemed accepted. Moving to the leg 7 of the transaction, the NETC system will notify the response to the acquirer host, and acquirer host will notify to respective toll plaza system. Thus, the National Electronic Toll Collection Program is a 8-legged process transaction. So in this discussion, we talked about integration of e-way bill with FASTag and RFID along with its various benefits. We also mentioned about the e-way bill, the fact that it has been mentioned under GST Act and rules, and also the objectives of e-way bill. Further, we also mentioned about the fact that this integration helps in vehicle tracking or tracking of important consignments and also prevents tax evasion and overall helps the tax authorities. Further, we also mentioned about the top sectors and states who are generating e-way bills. Further, we also mentioned about requirements to generate e-way bill. Then we also studied about FASTags and RFID. Further, we also discussed about the objectives of National Electronic Toll Collection Program. And lastly, we discussed about the 8-leg transaction facilitated by the National Electronic Toll Collection Program. So from our prelims perspective, this topic gets covered under general science and aspects of science and technology, aspects of environment, and also steps taken by the government with respect to government policies. And in the mains, question can be asked with respect to GS paper 2, especially regarding the government policies and interventions, and under GS paper 3, topics with respect to infrastructure, science and technology, and also environment. So after this discussion, let's take up the next news for analysis. Now let's take up the next news appearing in the explained section. It says, how are tropical cyclones named? The news highlights that list of 169 cyclone names released by Indian Meteorological Department last month in April were provided by these countries, where 13 suggestions came from each of the 13 countries. Now, in this regard, this news mentions that cyclones that form in every ocean basin across the world are named by the Regional Specialized Meteorological Centers or RSMCs and the Tropical Cyclone Warning Centers, that is TCWCs. So, overall, there are 6 RSMCs in the world, including the Indian Meteorological Department, that is IMD, and 5 TCWCs. So in this analysis, let us understand about the formation of tropical cyclone and also the fact that how they are named. Now before moving into our discussion, let's remember two important aspects. First is regarding the speed of the wind or wind speed for a cyclone. And second is the fact that winds converge towards low pressure area. So if this is a low pressure area, then winds from all direction or basically from all areas of high pressure will converge towards this area of low pressure. So keeping these two important things in mind, let's start our discussion with respect to how tropical cyclones are named. So before going into the naming of the cyclone, let's go through some of the important aspects with respect to the cyclone itself. So it highlights that increased wind speed is accompanied by reduced air pressure. So the moment wind speed increases, air pressure decreases. It further says that air moves from the region where the air pressure is high to the region where the air pressure is low, the point which we just discussed. Next, it says that factors like wind speed, wind direction, temperature, and humidity contribute to the development of cyclones. Now, all these becomes important from our prelims perspective. Now, another very important aspect is that the terms hurricane and typhoon are region-specific names for strong tropical cyclone. So we see these different names, and these different names such as hurricanes over the Atlantic Ocean, as you can see here in this particular map, and typhoons over the Pacific Ocean, as you can see here, are region-specific names. So we understand that these different names for a cyclone are given by the different regions. Now another important aspect regarding tropical cyclone is that the World Meteorological Organization, that is WMO, uses the term tropical cyclone to cover weather systems in which wind exceed gale force. Now here gale force has been described as a strong wind typically used as a descriptor in nautical context, and the speed of the wind is minimum at 63 kilometers per hour or 34 knots. So according to WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization, the term tropical cyclone is used to cover such weather systems in which winds exceed the gale force, that is such winds which exceed this particular speed, that is 63 kilometers per hour. Now the US National Weather Service defines a gale as 34 to 47 knots, that is between 63 to 87 km per hour, that too of sustained surface winds. So that's why the speed of the wind becomes important for tropical cyclones. And based on these speeds, these type of disturbance which is created in the atmosphere are described. For example, such wind whose speed is less than 31 km per hour are described as low pressure, whereas such kind of winds whose speed is between 31 to 49 km per hour, they are described as depression. Further, increase in wind speed from 49 to 61 km per hour results into formation of deep depression. Moving further, from 61 to 88 km per hour, it results in cyclonic storm. Now, according to WMO, such wind speed which exceeds 63 km per hour are described as tropical cyclone. And here also the wind speed is roughly around 61 to 88 km per hour. Next is the category of severe cyclonic storm, whereby the wind speed is between 88 to 117 km per hour. And super cyclones are such cyclone or such wind whose speed is more than 221 km per hour. So we see that the speed of the wind also determines the type of disturbance in the atmosphere, resulting in low pressure, depression, deep depression, cyclonic storm, severe cyclonic storm, or even super cyclone. So basically the atmospheric disturbances is described in terms of wind speed, and the category is determined by the speed of the surface winds which the cyclone generate. Now before starting our discussion, we mentioned that there are 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, and these are Southwest Pacific Ocean, Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, Southwest Indian Ocean, Western North Pacific Ocean and South China Sea, Central North Pacific Ocean, and Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, North Atlantic and Eastern North Pacific Oceans. So regarding naming of these cyclones, this news says that World Meteorological Organization maintains a rotating list of the names which are appropriate for each tropical cyclone basin, and these names are provided by the regional specialized meteorological centers, that is the 6 RSMCs. So we can say that naming of cyclone is done at a regional level. So it highlights that the World Meteorological Organization maintains a rotating list of names which are appropriate for each tropical cyclone basin, and these names, as already discussed, are provided by these 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, and one of them is situated in New Delhi. The panel members' names are listed alphabetically and also country-wise. So the naming of cyclones follows a certain sequential orders. It says that the names will be used sequentially and column-wise. So the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea has provided a list to the WMO, and accordingly each countries have named the tropical cyclone. For example, earlier it was Nisarga, then the tropical cyclone was Gati. Now very recently we all studied about Tuktai, which was named by Myanmar, and currently we are troubled with cyclone Yas, which has been named by Oman. So as you can see, the regional center has provided a list of names. So the next cyclone which will take place in the Arabian Sea or in the area of Bay of Bengal, it will be named Gulab, which has been named by Pakistan. The next cyclone will be named Shaheen. Now another important thing to be noted here is that the name of tropical cyclones provided by the countries have been listed in alphabetical order. So this is how the list works. So overall we understand that the names of the cyclones will be used sequentially column wise as per the column provided by these regional centers. Now another important point highlighted here is that should a named tropical cyclone move into the basin from Western Pacific, say to a different area, then it will retain its original name. So for example, if the name of a tropical cyclone from South China Sea which crosses Thailand and emerges into the Bay of Bengal area as a tropical cyclone, then the name of such tropical cyclone will not be changed. Another important aspect highlighted is that the first name will start from the first row of column 1 and continue sequentially to the last row in the column 13. Now as you can see, there are 13 names provided in column 1, and only once these names have been used, countries will then move to column 2. It further mentions that the names of tropical cyclones over the North Indian Ocean will not be repeated. Once used, it will cease to be used again. So the names of these tropical cyclones cannot be repeated again, and the name must be a new name. Another aspect is that a name which has been provided by the regional centers should not be there in the already existing list of any of the regional specialized meteorological centers. So the name should not correspond or tally with any other name which has been provided by the 5 other regional specialized meteorological centers. So overall, the name which has been suggested by any country should be a new name. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to naming of tropical cyclones, whose list is maintained by World Meteorological Organization. Now there are also few conditions which needs to be abided while submitting the names. So there are certain conditions which must be followed while naming a tropical cyclone. For example, the names of tropical cyclones should be neutral to politics and political figures, religious beliefs, cultures and gender. The name should be chosen in such a way that it does not hurt the sentiments or feelings of any particular group or community of a particular population over a given area or over a given region or any country. Further, the name of the tropical cyclone should not be very rude and cruel in nature. And the name must be short, easy to pronounce, and should not be offensive to any member of the World Meteorological Organization or any member of the regional specialized meteorological centers. Another important aspect is that the maximum length of the name will be 8 letters. Further, the proposed name should be provided with its pronunciation and voice over. And lastly, as already discussed, that the names of tropical cyclones over the North Indian Ocean region will not be repeated. So, once a name has been used, it will not be used again, and any further name which is suggested must be a new name. So, these are some of the conditions which must be abided while naming a tropical cyclone. Now, this topic becomes important both from our prelims as well as mains point of view. Now, in prelims, questions can be asked with respect to the physical geography of India and the world, and on the aspect of general issues on environmental ecology and climate change. And in the mains, this topic gets covered under GS paper 1 and GS paper 3. In GS paper 1 under salient features of world's physical geography, and in GS paper 3 under environment and also aspects of disaster and disaster management. So in this article, we discussed about the regional specialized meteorological centers, as these centers are responsible for the naming of cyclone in the region, and the list is maintained by World Meteorological Organization. Now, another important aspect is that the wind speed determines the nature of cyclone. Now, different cyclones are named in a different manner over different regions. For example, hurricanes are named over Atlantic Ocean and typhoons are named over the Pacific Ocean. Another important term which we studied in this news is gale force, that is wind speed greater than 63 km per hour or 34 knots. Further, we also discussed about types of disturbances based on wind speed, where we saw that increasing wind speeds converted a cyclone into super cyclones. Further, we also studied that names of cyclones is given by countries in an alphabetical order. And lastly, we also studied about certain conditions which must be followed while naming these tropical cyclones by the 6 regional specialized meteorological centers. So after this very important discussion on naming of tropical cyclones, let's move to the next article of discussion. Now in our next discussion, let's take up these 2 articles appearing in the explained section of the Indian Express. Now the first article says that currency with the public jumps to an all-time high of rupees 28.39 lakh crores. The next news mentions about a bank theft in a currency chest which is maintained by the Reserve Bank of India. So this news highlights that currency chest is a place where the Reserve Bank of India stocks the money meant for banks and ATMs. These chests are usually situated on the premises of different banks but are administered by the Reserve Bank. So let us understand both these news primarily from the perspective of our prelims and mains examination. Now first of all, let us understand about the currency chest. So the currency chest are depositories of cash maintained by RBI at different places across the country, and the currency chest helps in money supply throughout the India. So it is in this regard the RBI has authorized various public sector banks to maintain currency chest on its behalf. Important point to be noted here is that the RBI Act 1934 does not mention about currency chest. So if a statement appears in the prelims examination stating that the aspect of currency chest has been provided under the RBI Act, then such a statement would be incorrect. And lastly, it mentions that currency chest helps to maintain money supply across the country. So these can be said to be some of the important aspects with respect to currency chest. Now moving to the first news, which stated that the currency with public has increased to 28 lakh crores or even more as of May 2021. Now in this regard, the reasons for this high withdrawal of cash from banks by general public was primarily because of medical emergency in the second COVID wave. Another reason why public withdrew cash in large amount was because of higher expense or higher expenditure towards healthcare. And also because of the fact of loss of jobs, mostly for such people who works in the informal sector of the economy. As such a scenario of loss of job forced people to withdraw their saved amount for their day-to-day expenditure. So this is why withdrawal of currency in May 2021 reached an all-time high of more than 28 lakh crores. Now based on this understanding, let's take up this particular question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2020. The question was, if you withdraw rupees 1 lakh in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy will be. That is, you withdrew rupees 1 lakh from your bank account. So the question is that how will this withdrawal of 1 lakh rupees affect or impact the money supply in the economy? Now the point to be understood here is that the money or the amount which you have withdrawn will further be invested in the economy. So let's go through the options. The options were A. To reduce it by rupees 1 lakh. No. Second, to increase it by rupees 1 lakh. No. Third, to increase it by more than rupees 1 lakh. No. Fourth, to leave it unchanged. Yes, this is correct, as the amount which was earlier in the bank is now in your hands for your expenses or your expenditure. So the impact of withdrawal of rupees 1 lakh from your account will have no effect on money supply in the economy. Now let's take up another question asked in the prelims of 2018. The question was, which of the following statements correctly describes the meaning of legal tender money? Now to understand this question, let us first of all understand about fiat money. Now generally it is said that fiat money lacks intrinsic value. So what is the meaning of this particular term? Now see, I have taken a screenshot of rupees 2000. So what is the meaning of intrinsic value? Intrinsic value refers to the true value. So the question is that, does the true value of this piece of paper mentioning about rupees 2000 is its real value? No, it's not the real value. Rather, it's the value which has been promised by the RBI governor, also guaranteed by the central government. Now, if you see minutely, it says that I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 2000 rupees, signed by Urjit Patel, the RBI governor. So, RBI governor in a way guarantees that if this piece of paper is exchanged as a legal tender, then the value will be accepted. Hence, this piece of paper having this guarantee by the central government and promise by the RBI governor can be said to be a legal tender and also fiat money. So let's again go through the question. It states that which one of the following statements correctly describes the meaning of legal tender money? Options are A. The money which is tendered in courts of law to defray the fee of legal cases. No, this is incorrect. B. The money which a creditor is under compulsion to accept in settlement of his claims. Yes, seems to be true. Let's go through the other option as well. C. The bank money in the form of checks, drafts, bills of exchange, etc. No. T. The metallic money in circulation in a country. No. So here the correct answer becomes B. That is the money which a creditor is under compulsion to accept in settlement of their claims. And that's why this is also referred as a legal tender money, as the guarantee has been given by the central bank, duly signed by the RBI governor. So in this regard, let's also go through about printing of currency notes and minting of coins. Now, Reserve Bank of India is the sole authority to print currency notes under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. And RBI can print notes of different denomination from rupees 2 up to rupees 10,000. So tomorrow RBI can print a note worth rupees 10,000. It further says that all banknotes issued by RBI are backed by assets such as gold, government securities and foreign currency assets. And this aspect has also been defined under the RBI Act under Section 33. Another important aspect highlighted here is that banknotes are printed at 4 currency presses. 2 are owned by RBI and 2 are owned by the Government of India. Now the currency presses owned by the Government of India is through Security Printing and Mining Corporation of India Limited, located at Nasik and Devas. Now Devas is in MP and Nasik is in Maharashtra. And the 2 other currency presses owned by RBI is through RBI subsidiary Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mudran Private Limited. And these 2 are located at Mysuru in Karnataka and Salboni in West Bengal. Now another important aspect which you should know is that Government of India can issue or print 1 rupee notes and coins. And coins can be issued up to the denomination of rupees 1000 under the Coinage Act of 2011. Further, government decides on the quantity of coins to be minted on the basis of indent received from Reserve Bank of India on a yearly basis. Now another important aspect which you must know is regarding the components of money supply. And here these components are M0, M1, M2, M3 and M4. Now M0 includes currency in circulation, that is currency with public and currency with banks. It also includes bankers' deposit with RBI and other deposits with RBI. Whereas N1 includes currency with public, demand deposits with bank and other deposits with RBI. Moving to M2, it includes currency with public, demand deposits with banks, other deposits with RBI and post office savings deposits. Now moving to M3. M3 is also referred as broad money, whereas M1 is referred as narrow money. Now M3 is referred as broad money because it also includes time deposit with banks. Now time deposits are such deposits where money remains for a certain fixed period in a bank account and during which such money cannot be withdrawn. So M3 includes M1 plus time deposit with banks and M4 includes M3 plus total post office deposits. Now from an exam perspective, you must know that M0 is referred as reserve money or high powered money, as it is considered as the total liability of the Reserve Bank of India, and it basically shows that the total amount of money injected by the RBI into the economy. Further, we have already mentioned about narrow money and broad money, and the only difference with respect to narrow money and broad money is with respect to time deposit with banks, as M3 is equal to M1 plus time deposit with banks, that is such money which remains in a bank account for a fixed period or a fixed term. So again, components of money supply becomes important to understand about the liquidity situation in the country and also about money supply. So questions can be asked in your examination with respect to components of money supply. Now summarizing what we have studied, currency chest is maintained by RBI. However, this aspect is not provided under the RBI Act. Currency with public has increased due to uncertain times because of medical emergency. Next, printing of currency notes and minting of coins. Now here, RBI is authorized under the RBI Act to print currency notes, and the Government of India is authorized to mint coins under the Coinage Act. Further, we also studied about fiat money, as fiat money lacks intrinsic value. We also studied about legal tender, also components of money supply, which includes M0, M1, M2, M3 and M4. Now M1 is referred as narrow money and M3 is referred as broad money because it includes time deposits. Now regarding the syllabus, in the prelims this topic gets covered under Indian economy, and in the mains gets covered under the aspect of GS paper 3 with respect to the aspects of Indian economy. So after discussing about currency chest and various aspects of money supply, let's move to the last article of discussion. The last article highlights that how UNESCO grants World Heritage Site tag. Now this news says that Maharashtra has listed 14 forts in tentative serial nomination. So the Maharashtra government has submitted a tentative serial nomination for 14 sites seeking status of World Heritage Site. Now the status have been asked for 14 forts from 17th century AD of Maratha king Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and it has been asked on the theme of Maratha military architecture in Maharashtra. So this nomination has been forwarded by the Archaeological Survey of India to UNESCO, and this has been done through the Ministry of Culture. This news further says that according to World Heritage Convention's operational guidelines, a tentative list is an inventory of properties a country believes deserves to be a World Heritage Sites. So the important point to be understood is that to be included on the World Heritage List, sites must be of outstanding universal value and meet at least one of the 10 selection criteria. Now, this 10 selection criteria has been provided under the operational guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. Now, the World Heritage Committee, which is the main body in charge of the implementation of the convention, has developed precise criteria for the inscription of properties on the World Heritage list. So, in this regard, let's go through these 10 criteria which has been provided through these operational guidelines. Now, the first criteria highlights about to represent a masterpiece of human creative genius. So, the site must represent a masterpiece of human creative genius. Further, the site must exhibit an important interchange of human values over a span of time or within a cultural area of the world on developments in architecture or technology, monumental arts, town planning, or landscape design. The third point is that the site must bear a unique or at least exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition or to a civilization which is living or which has disappeared. The fourth point is that such a site must be an outstanding example of a type of building, architectural or technological ensemble or landscape which illustrates a significant stages in human history. Fifth, a place or a site which has an outstanding example of traditional human settlement, land use or sea use which is representative of a unique culture or cultures or human interaction with the environment, especially when it has become vulnerable under the impact of irreversible change. The sixth point highlighted is that a site must be directly or tangibly associated with events or living traditions, with ideas or with beliefs, with artistic and literary works of outstanding universal significance. The seventh point is that such a site must contain superlative natural phenomena or areas of exceptional natural beauty and aesthetic importance. The eighth point is that such a site must be an outstanding examples representing major stages of Earth's history, including the record of life, significant ongoing geological processes in the development of landforms, or significant geomorphic or physiographic features. The ninth point is that the site must be an outstanding examples representing significant ongoing ecological and biological processes in the evolution and development of terrestrial, freshwater, coastal, and marine ecosystems and communities of plants and animals. And lastly, the site must contain the most important and significant natural habitats for in situ conservation of biological diversity, including those containing threatened species of outstanding universal value from the point of view of science or conservation. So we see that not only historical sites are to be considered for World Heritage Site tag, but also places which are vulnerable because of the changing environment. And this news must be seen primarily from the perspective of prelims examinations, especially with respect to current events of international importance. So with this discussion, we come to an end to this weekly series of explained section of Indian Express. Thank you.